Welcome back everybody to Rasputin Gaming Presents. This is another in our series of reviews of games after Platinum. So today I'm reviewing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This is the latest game in the canon, and it's one of the better offerings specifically because it tries to look beyond the trappings of Star Wars. It's not just another Jedi power fantasy, although wielding the Force with skill and resolve will certainly make you feel powerful. Like the best Star Wars games, it's one that adds to the ideas of the films and other material, exploring new corners of the galaxy while focusing on the core themes of the franchise, knowing yourself, fighting your own darkness, and braving adversary with the help of friends. Friendship has always been one of the main drives of Star Wars, especially in the original film trilogy, and it's the core of what makes Jedi Fallen Order work in both story and gameplay. The primary relationship of the game is between Cal Kestis and BD-1. So our hero Cal is a Jedi Padawan hiding in the aftermath of the Jedi Purge that took place in the Revenge of the Sith. And BD-1 is a droid who's entrusted with a secret mission by the Jedi Master that previously owned it. Once Cal and BD-1 meet, they become inseparable, working together as partners to solve puzzles in forgotten ruins, navigating alien environments, and beating back the Empire. The pair work throughout the game to complete a scavenger hunt created by BD-1's last companion, Master Cordova. Before he vanished, Cordova locked away a list of Force-sensitive children throughout the galaxy that could be used to resuscitate the destroyed Jedi Order and challenge the Empire. He left clues on how to retrieve that list with BD-1, requiring Cal and the droid to travel to various worlds, following in Cordova's footsteps to free up BD-1's encrypted memories. Gameplay. What you actually get to do in Fallen Order is to travel to a variety of planets, raid tombs, explore jungles, swim under the legs of AT-ATs, and try to stay one step ahead of the Empire. Our companions stay in the ship during our adventures, and for the most part, it's up to us to explore each world to find clues about the next step in the quest. The most pressing challenge is almost always trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, which is a refreshing shift from the Star Wars universe. There are battles, and some of them are glorious, but the vast majority of our time is spent solving puzzles and exploring, not fighting. I learned not to worry if I can't find all the secrets or access all of the areas on each planet, because I can always go back when I've unlocked a new Force ability or to see more of each biome. It's a structure and pace that often feels lifted from Metroid games, in fact. Juggling various attacks with different lightsaber styles while paying attention to the limited amount of Force energy you have is challenging but doable. Simple button presses for attacks make sense tactically, while the actual in-game animations make everything look fluid and choreographed. You have options. How you choose to fight is up to you, and it can change depending on the situation and number of enemies. And those enemies ratchet up intensity from local wild animals at the very beginning, to stormtroopers, to specifically trained anti-Jedi forces, and then on to some awesome boss fights at the very end. It definitely takes time for this structure to start working and paying off, but it does work and it does pay off. And the Empire was right to send enemies of this stature after me because I, by the end of the game, have become that monstrous of a threat. By the end of the game, you will become a killing machine with a huge range of options. And the fan service doesn't stop there. Jedi Fallen Order features one of the best lightsaber customization systems I've ever seen in a game. Gives you the chance to pick the color of your blade, the material that makes it up, the color of those materials, the emitters, grips, and more. It's really quite extensive. You get to unlock more and more options for the blade and spend an embarrassing amount of time playing lightsaber dress up and searching for more options. Though they seem small at first, almost every world you visit is revealed to be surprisingly large, with huge sections and shortcuts locked behind barriers you'll later learn to blast through, jump over, or otherwise overcome. Some of them are dramatically different from area to area, with the exotic Shadowland region of Kashyyyk standing out in my mind as a surprisingly distinctive location thanks to its creepy carnivorous plants. Other areas include subterranean caverns and ancient temples, all of which stand in stark contrast to traditional Star Wars settings. The vast majority of the puzzles are simple fun, but one or two can get tricky enough to make you have to scratch your head for a little while. There's almost never too much of it at once though, and you're rarely doing the same thing for long. Exploration is the key to all these maps, and both chests full of cosmetic loot and special force echoes, the Jedi equivalent of audio logs, are scattered everywhere. It gives you plenty of reason to veer left when the vague indicator on the map screen suggests you should turn right, or to make a return trip to a previously visited world just to see what you can find after you've gained the new ability. This travel back feature does not become tedious because it's small sections of the world that are left to be explored on your return visit, and they usually pay off with something quite worthwhile. And if you manage to follow my video guide, you will find that the number of travel backs you have to do are very limited and makes sense to gain new abilities and to gain the XP that you need to keep advancing. On rare occasions, usually after a tough optional fight or moderately tricky puzzle, you'll even find a chest with something that affects gameplay, such as extra health canister or 1/3 of a permanent increase to your health or force capacity. It's enough of a reward to keep the urge to turn over every rock going. And when you do die, which on the harder difficulties can be fairly often, you lose whatever XP you've gathered towards skill points and have to return to face your killer to reclaim them. This creates a brief sense of rivalry and increases the stakes. But here's where Jedi Fallen Order gets creative. Rather than expecting you to face off against an enemy who's already defeated you, potentially with less health than you had the first time, the first blow you land against them fully restores your health and force meters, along with your experience points, letting you face them at your best. It's a great way of getting you over the hump when you need just a little leg up to beat a tough enemy and prevents you from getting stuck as often. Narrative. Cal Kestis is after a unique object that is left behind and will help him reclaim the Jedi Order and restore it to some form of power. He's helped by a ship full of the standard ragtag selection of gamblers and outcasts from the Star Wars universe, as well as a helpful and adorable droid BD-1. Unfortunately for the narrative, all of the side characters in the game are more interesting than Kestis, with their own failures, triumphs, and arcs that make me wish more time was spent on them instead of the bland hero we are stuck with. This is often a problem with the mainline Star Wars properties, although the most recent films have done a better job of not focusing on the one chosen dude who comes from nowhere and is great because we are told he is. Kestis is a step backwards from this, but at least the supporting cast and those you meet along the way are much more memorable than this eternally blank slate. I was particularly drawn to one of the last enemies in the games that actually becomes one of our companions, Nesta Night Sister. She's one of my all-time favorite characters in any video game. Star Wars games often feel estranged from the franchise that spawned them. Video games have gotten very good at capturing the aesthetic of Star Wars, the cold metallic angles of the Imperial architecture, the powerful hum of the lightsaber, the electric snap of a blaster bolt hitting home, but they can struggle to get beneath the surface. It's rare that a Star Wars game reaches beyond how Star Wars looks to explore what Star Wars really is about. Functionally, BD is Cal's constant companion as he rides around on the Jedi's back, and Cal regularly talks with the droid as they explore the Fallen Order's planets. BD also serves as several support functions in the game. Most importantly, BD provides Cal with stims that allow him to heal himself in the middle of Fallen Order's often oppressive combat. He also functions as a zip line, can unlock doors, and hack certain droid enemies to turn the tides of battle. BD is just enough a part of any fight or puzzle that you're always aware of his presence and his help, but it's Cal's constant interactions with the little droid that really build out their relationship. You definitely need BD's help and the upgrades you find for him throughout the journey because Fallen Order can be punishing, especially on the higher difficulties. It lifts a number of gameplay ideas directly from the Soulsborne genre. Enemies are often tough as nails and can deal big damage if you're complacent. You definitely need BD's help and the upgrades you find for him throughout your journey. Fighting isn't just about wailing on everyone with your lightsaber, but rather relies on blocking and carefully timed parries if you mean to stay alive against even the most run-of-the-mill foes. You and your enemies also have a stamina meter to manage, which dictates how many blows you can defend against before you stagger and adds a strategic element to the duels. To win a battle, you need to whittle down an enemy's stamina while blocking, parrying, dodging on your own. Since every blow you sustain can be devastating, combat becomes an exciting, cerebral exercise in pretty much every case. You'll spend a lot of time not only homing your parrying skills, but also making quick battlefield decisions about how you isolate dangerous enemies or use your force powers to even up the odds. And you'll focus often on the sentry drones and stuff to allow BD to help you in these fights, as he can hack the enemy droids and turn them to your side, thereby evening up the odds as well. The rest of the game often has to do with clambering around the environment and solving puzzles, not like Tomb Raider or God of War. Navigating the world is much about using observation and problem-solving skills as force tools, and this is a nice deviation from your standard Star Wars games. Respawn's map design allows you to explore off the beaten path without ever really getting lost. Each planet is richly realized and fascinating to explore. The intricate pathways encourage you to wander off and visit each planet's varied environments to see what you might uncover. The Fallen Order always makes sure you're rewarded with a bit of story, a cosmetic item, or even an optional mini-boss fight. When you're between missions on planets, you're spending time with the Fallen Order's two other major characters, Cere and Grease. They're the pair that managed to save Cal in the early hours of the game when the Jedi nature is discovered by the Empire. And they're the ones that put him on the quest to find the list of Force-sensitive children before the Inquisitors can get their hands on it. Although the story is a little rough in the early going as Cal is thrown directly into the quest with a little lead-up or explanation, Fallen Order's story starts to excel around the halfway point as his relationships with BD, Cere, and Grease really start to develop. Once Fallen Order starts to invest in the interpersonal dynamics and deepening friendships of its cast, it can really hit its stride, and its quest feels less like an elaborate series of tasks and more like an essential addition to the ongoing Star Wars saga. Without spoiling the ending, Jedi Fallen Order sticks to landing with its story. The game took me about 13 hours to wrap up its quest with a tough climactic boss fight and thrilling finale, all without overtly setting up a specific sequel to see how the game conflicts will be resolved. And now with Survivor coming out a month or two, you can see how this will tie in directly into the new game. Visuals. The art style of Star Wars Jedi's Fallen Order seems to have a good place, somewhere between the realism that is expected and the artsy child-focused cartoonism that is dreaded. The game has seemingly struck the right balance with a style of its own. Star Wars, now a Disney property, has moved forward from the mistakes that were made under Lucas and has found an identity all its own. Respawn has done a nice job creating a variety of locales, even though the game is limited to just a couple of planets. From the Mesa-styled Bogano to the southwestern desert-inspired Dathomir, the visuals make sense. The enemy models are connected to the stylings of the respective planets as well. Playing through this game twice, once on PS4 and once on PS5, I did not find any particularly glaring issues from a technical standpoint. The game moved forward nicely and was able to transition well from planet to planet and environment to environment. Visuals were not distracting and made sense everywhere I went in this game. Sound. The accompanying soundtrack to this game is definitely above average, and while there is not many opportunities to shine, the music does a good job of supplementing the story and adding to immersion. The combat sounds are well done also. The lightsaber musically moves through the combat with a low drone hum that you would expect, and a pop of contact gives a certain savoir-faire to your combat skills. Although not as well done as Ghost of Tsushima, mainly due to a lack of opportunity, the soundtrack does complement the game well. There's a very nice underlying current of the soundtrack, and because so much of the game is based on actual conversations, especially between Cal and BD1, it minimizes the opportunity for the sound and the music to really push the game forward in new directions. Replayability. There's a certain lack of replayability to Star Wars Jedi: The Fallen Order. The story is quite linear. It has very few opportunities to deviate. There is the exploration factor, and that can help you with replayability. You will touch on almost every area as you progress naturally through the story, and with the areas that are off the beaten track not lending much more to be found other than cosmetics for you, the lightsaber, or for your ship, there isn't much reason to step out beyond the story. This leaves the only reason for multiple playthroughs as changing the difficulty level of the game. If you start on one of the easier difficulties, you will become a murder machine of the highest order by the end of the game, even though the focus of the game is really on the exploration and the friendships in the game. All of your Jedi skills will make combat, other than the boss fights, fairly easy, so starting on a harder difficulty or changing to one mid-game makes sense if you would like the combat to be a little more challenging. And now for the category that makes me a little more unique than every other reviewer on the platform, and that's our category Ability to Platinum. This game is quite easy to platinum. It does not take multiple playthroughs to earn all of the trophies. What it does require is a full exploration of each and every map. The collectibles are varied and quite spread out on the map, and there is a trophy linked to completely discovering each of the maps that you go to, whether it's internal maps of a crashed Star Destroyer or if it's a planet that you're looking for clues on. This becomes the driving reason to explore every nook and cranny. With the way the pop-up map is structured, showing you any untraveled or unexplored paths, there really shouldn't be any reason to miss any of the collectibles or leave any sections of the map unexplored. The combat-based trophies aren't particularly hard, and there's none that are unreasonably grindy either. This makes getting the platinum, as I mentioned, quite easy. So now for the overall rankings, the part you guys have come to hear. So for gameplay, I give this game an 8, which on my scale equals great. The narrative is a 7. It's a good narrative. The graphics are a 7. They found their unique place within the Star Wars canon and somewhere between what adults would like and what kids want. The audio also is a 7. It's good. It doesn't have the opportunity to shine like you would hope, but it does complement the game quite well. Replayability. I gave the game a 3. It's not completely unreplayable. There really isn't a reason other than the difficulty challenge to replay the game, which if you're just a trophy hunter is good, but if you're looking to get more out of your $60 purchase, it's not so good. Fun. I gave this game an 8 for fun. It's a great game and it's a lot of fun. I like the direction that it took, the stylings that it took, and the gameplay, especially focusing on friendships, exploration, transversals, and the combat. It's the right mix of everything that should make the game enjoyable for everyone that comes across it. Overall then, my score is a 7 for this game. It's a good game, all things considered. And I think most everyone that plays it will enjoy it, whether you're going for the platinum trophy or not. Last category, ability to platinum. I give this game a 9. It is really quite easy to platinum this game. It's just a matter of putting in some time and doing some exploration. And while you're doing that exploration, is be patient. Check your mini-map often to make sure that you don't leave any unexplored areas behind that you can explore. You may have to come back to the early parts of Bogano to find items that were left behind. But if you follow my video guides on the Platinum Trophy and game walkthrough, you will find that it's done fairly well sequentially and we don't leave anything behind till very late in the game. With that being said, don't forget to friend and follow us on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really enjoy having you guys along, doing these reviews for you now as well. If you've been checking out some of my videos, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out, keeps me in an ability to produce this content. If you can find your way to it, please subscribe to the channel. Other than that, you guys take care and be safe out there, and we will catch you next time.